Hello everyone, and I have been thinking recently about maps. Not those maps. No, not those maps either, but you know, it does prove that real maps have contour curves. But no, maps, as in Overwatch, because Jeff, in his infinite wisdom, recently has said that there is 3 main game mode ranked quick play maps that are quite far away. Apparently somebody just stuck a toffee in my mouth without me realizing, that are quite far along and should see release this year. There's also 3 non-main mode maps, so, you know, kind of like 3v3 arena or capture the flag stuff, and that they're also experimenting. I imagine they're really quite kinky in that Overwatch office. I mean, it's nice he's revealing it. Did I just say that? Either way, I kinda wanted to discuss what kind of things we could be seeing, because, firstly, am I not alone in that Oasis was kind of anticlimactic? I mean, yes, it was a long time ago that it came out, and yes, I've discussed the idea of hero balancing with maps, but not maps specifically, and, you know, the last time a map came out, it was exciting to begin with, but honestly, the most fun thing about that map was jumping in front of a moving car, and I don't know what kind of message that sends. Well, it's not a bad map. I feel like it was almost anticlimactic, and I kinda don't want that to happen again. So, let's take this part by part, and we'll start from the back and then move towards the front. That seems like a sensible way to make sure we cover everything thoroughly. No, I think that was still a good sentence. So, the experimental stuff. This, I am very much hoping, and I think perhaps, mayhaps, perchance, is likely to be custom PvE maps, because let's have a look at Uprising. It's fun, it's good, but it is just King's Row with a PvE twist slapped on it like cheap makeup. Whereas if a PvE game mode came out with its own actual map, I think that would really enhance the experience, actually seeing a different part of an existing map. I'd still want it to be, let's say it was the Doomfist one, I'd still want it to be Numbani, but I don't want it to be a different section of Numbani, because having us believe that everything of note takes place on the same street on each map is a little bit unbelievable. So I'm hoping that this experimental stuff is playing around with giving events their own actual custom maps. I mean, we saw it a little bit with Lucio's balls. He had a special place for them in his pitch when we had that, but that was tiny, of course, and obviously wouldn't have taken much development time compared to, you know, a full-blown map, but I'm hoping what they're experimenting with is unique maps that really only are to serve one limited purpose, but really enhance it, and this I also kind of like to connect to my idea that Doomfist should be a raid boss-esque thing, because you can't just put a Doomfist unit in a normal map if you're going to have an actual proper fight with him that isn't just shooting backwards and forwards. So maybe this experimental mappage is stuff that might, yes, be a crazy new game mode that they're testing, but it also might very well be a actual tailor-designed map for a thing we've not had released, for an event that really lets them play around with new stuff, because as I said before, I think Uprising is very much a test, an experiment for Blizzard, to see if they can integrate this PvE-ness into Overwatch, to see how we'd like it, and see if it's worth dedicating more resources and pushing it forward, and I think that we can agree that Uprising has been an unqualified success. And I think people want more, I think they want it deeper, and they think they want it to happen faster. So I can really see this coming along soon. So that's where I'm kind of lying with the experimental stuff. But, you know, let me know what you think about the experimental stuff. The non-official maps then. This is an interesting one to me, because there's 3 non-official maps being worked on, as I said, capture the flaggy type stuff, one of which I do hope is an actual capture the flag map, because the game mode is inherently fun, you know, it's neat, people like capturing flags for some reason, but the maps that they are on, I mean, it doesn't work, okay? The key of a capture the flag map is the fun that comes from the chase and the running. I have the flag, I'm gonna get to the side of the map and drop it off while the enemies stop me. But because the space between flag points is so short, coupled with such high mobility characters, it just feels so anticlimactic. There's no time, and it's really lame. But yes, you could turn off the carrier's ability to use abilities and stuff, but, you know, that's messing with the settings. I think an actual dedicated map for Capture the Flag could be really, really cool. The rest of it, I'm assuming, we'll get some more arena maps, some more actual maps for the just simple killing of each other, because eco points good and all, and yes, we can do it on the other maps that are available, but I think you could really have some cool design space when you build a map from the ground up to be a killing zone. Because the thing is, you can slap people on a payload map, on a point map, and have them kill each other, but it doesn't inherently work. It results in farming each other at spawn once one team gains an advantage, and it just becomes really unfun. Whereas when you build the map from the base to be a fight each other map, you can actually design it in such a way to naturally counter unfun occurrences like that via the lay of the land. So I would absolutely love to see more variety in the arena-style maps. Now, what the last one could be, if it's not just 2 and one of the ones that I've already talked about, I'm not entirely sure. So let's shift focus to the main juicy bit of this information, and that's the 3 air quote standard maps, ones that we will see on the seashore. The maps that she sells are Jeff Kaplan's, I'm sure, and these will go in quick play and comp, which means they will be proper air quotes maps. Now, I still would absolutely love to see an arena-style mode get released into actual competitive Overwatch. In fact, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but if we assume that they're just going to be new maps of existing game modes, I mean, I can't help but feel that we're gonna go into anticlimactic territory again, because let's be real, the existing maps for each game mode are very good. Overwatch map design for the most part is excellent. They're varied and fun. So I feel like, yay everybody, here's a brand new payload map. I mean, it's like, yeah, cool, a bit more variety, but is anyone really at the stage where no matter what map they get, they're like, ugh, it's this map? I mean, maybe I'm not, because I don't play constantly, so maybe people that are always playing do feel like that, but I feel like Overwatch as a game has actually done a very good job at making the maps as such that you don't inherently get sick of them. And let's be honest, people don't get sick of good maps. Let's have a look at Dota of LoL. They have one main map that everything takes place on, yet people play them for thousands of hours constantly. I did. I've got 1,500 hours in Dota 2. I love that game, and I never once thought, oh, this one map that I've been playing on this entire time is getting kind of boring. In fact, thinking about that now, I really haven't, and that's kind of a real sort of, whoa, actually, yeah, not bad. And I think Overwatch is actually tapping into that kind of level of map design, because there are very few Overwatch maps from like, ugh, I wish it was something different. I guess Volskaya comes to mind. I really don't like that map, but that's a personal thing. I don't think Overwatch is in a position where it needs more maps of existing modes for variety's sake, because what's there is very good. They have really thought about making it very interesting in the geometry. So if we have a look at the fact that originally every game mode had 3 maps part of it, and we are getting 3 new maps, could we not posit that we are getting a new game mode this year? And I think this is definitely likely, because people have been pining for it a while. Hell, ever since Iconval was announced and people were like, yes, we're getting reverse payload control point, where we do a payload then capture a control point, and obviously that didn't happen and people were really disappointed. And even that simple flip of payload control point would make another interesting different style of gameplay. Because of the nature of Overwatch's characters, the objective inherently changes how useful and strong each one is. I said this in my maps to balance video, you know, somewhere where Tracer might shine on one map, on a different kind of map she is completely useless just by the nature of the terrain and the objective. It's a nice way to change the pick rate of heroes without actually numerically or mechanically altering them, because, you know, the best 6 heroes in King of the Hill is different from the best 6 heroes in Payload. Not as different as I would like, but that's a whole other can of worms. There is still way too many ubiquitous heroes in Overwatch. It's seriously ridiculous that that 50% of the roster is like, ha, why are you picking that? Like, it really needs improving, although it is definitely getting there, I would say. But yeah, that's tangenting all up in here. So I feel like this is a really good opportunity and the right stage in Overwatch's life cycle to actually introduce an entirely new game mode. And this is where I got my major thinking going on of, well, what could it be? Because you start to think that maybe everything's been done, because the one thing that I really want is a game mode designed to kill other people. But the thing is, as much as I do love a good murder fest, I cannot deny from an objective standpoint that Overwatch's characters are designed for objective-based gameplay. Their toolkits are for objectives. They're not designed to kill each other, you know? Something like a Reinhardt shield is of course made for objective-based gameplay. It's not made to keep Reinhardt alive himself in a one-on-one or 6-on-6 deathmatch, you know? So that kind of inherently puts a crimp in kill the other team game modes, and also means that it's kind of unlikely that we'll see it. So I was trying to think of a way that we could actually have something where the enemy being killed is the way to go, and one of the ones that I do like, because it still plays into the Overwatch ideal of there is a huge roster of heroes, and you can switch to them while you're fighting and stuff, and you don't just want to lock in the same 6 heroes, although that does tend to happen, and I think it's actually kind of an extension of one of the custom modes I've done in the past, where you have to kill the enemy team's entire roster of characters. So let's say it's quite a big, sort of close quarters map, you know, not a lot of open spaces, but there is a lot of spaces, if that makes sense, and both teams spawn with their 6 heroes chosen, and their objective is to find and kill the other. So the initial approach has got to be measured and careful. You don't want to be sprinting away and accidentally end up surrounded. You got to carefully advance forward with your team, with your chosen strategy, maybe a flanking group, and engage the enemy in measured warfare. You don't just want to go all out because you're just going to die. So in this, when you die, you would be dead, like in elimination. So let's say you kill 3 of the enemy team and they kill all 5 of yours. So you've got 1 guy left. You are now in a 3v1. No one is respawning. Let's say that last 3 gets your final guy. All 6 of you are dead. What now happens as soon as that occurs, the 3 go back to their spawn and everyone else respawns, and they now pick heroes again. However, the heroes that they each died on are no longer pickable, so the 3 that won the initial 6v6 get to keep their heroes, which gives more, air quotes, lives to their team, and then the 6 that lost pick a new 6 out of the roster, and then we have another 6v6, and that repeats until one team is out of heroes. So you get to the point where all 6 of your guys are dead, but you've only got 2 heroes left. Who do you have play them? Who is your hero for this moment to win like a 2 versus 10 because you're that far behind? I think this would be really cool, because you get to use the full power of Overwatch's characters, and you definitely could add a few little objective-y things round, not that help you win in terms of a you get this and you win, but help as in, like, say you capture this point, you get like an extra fortified defensive position. You could have a way to flesh it out like that, but the inherent essence of it is that while you may have lost your round, it has a natural catch-up and balancing mechanic in that you know what 3 heroes the enemy team had left, so you can somewhat tailor your roster to countering them. So it's a backwards and forwards mind game countering match where you have to keep constructing the team to beat the team that beat you as you go backwards and forwards, slowly eliminating each other's roster. And it's also a game mode that gets refreshed every time a new hero gets added, because that adds a new element to it. So let's say that is the game mode you're playing. What is your starting 6, not knowing what the enemies is going to be? You just want a really solid, sustainable team, right? And then you can start being flexible. And this literally lets you have the hero moments that is the one thing I think Overwatch is missing. You very rarely get to go, oh, we were losing, but that one guy, oh, he played like a god, and he saved us. He killed like 8 people, because in, you know, Control Point, it doesn't really happen that much. It is one of Overwatch's weakness, such a focus on the group that the individual rarely gets to shine. And I shouldn't say weakness, it's a deliberate design choice. Overwatch is very much group orientated by its very nature, so it's not inherently a bad thing, but at least this gives a slight shift while still encouraging strong team play and tactics, but does give a little bit more focus on the individual. So I kind of like that, the full elimination game mode. Hell, you know what would be freaking sweet in this game mode? The revive your dead teammates mechanic that Blizzard are clearly playing around testing in the Uprising game mode. Like, in every hero needs to die. If you lose half your team, maybe you can try and have a fight defending your down teammate. The enemy team is like, well, we need to stop them reviving, so we need to be aggressive, but maybe that's a bad decision right now. And it adds an extra layer of dynamic that's not just pure kill. So that would be a really neat way to enhance it. The other one that I was thinking about is a little bit more reactive gameplay. Let's say both teams get put into a map where there is 6 control points. It's a large map. 60 seconds go by, or let's say 30 seconds, whatever the timer you want to make it, and then one of the 6 control points activates. You don't know which one it's going to be, so you have to initially plan your 6 heroes around getting to and securing whichever one it happens to be. Do you skirmish with the enemy team while you're waiting and risk having people down when the control point activates, or do you try and hide and avoid conflict until the point is up, etc.? So it activates, one team captures it, they get a point, and then calm, well, I say calm, but nothing's happening point-wise for another 30 to 60 seconds. So the teams can recover, or they can fight, they can change heroes based on what the enemy did, then another one of the 6 points activates, and you fight over it again, and it's the first person to claim 3 of the points. Now, obviously this is a rough idea, because you could have situations where by the random nature of the point activation, it favors one team or another, but then again, you've got to take that into account, that, wait, if that point over there activates, we're kind of screwed. Maybe we need to change our position and have a little bit of a fight to make sure that doesn't happen. And I think that would be really, really awesome. And then if I'm going to become really grounded and down to earth, I think we could totally have a tug-of-war payload map. I think that would be a lot of fun, because you have to choose a lineup that can not just defend a payload, but can simultaneously attack it. So it's like having both teams attacking and defending a payload map simultaneously. There's one payload, and they're just trying to push it backwards and forwards and see, when the timer is up, who's got the payload closest to their side. Obviously, if they just make it all the way, then they just win. But I think that is a really nice thing, and it's something that could definitely already be implemented without even really that much effort on Blizzard's part. So I think some very exciting things are going to happen this year in terms of new maps, and I'm hoping it's new modes, because I think inherently finding out we've got another King of the Hill, yeah, I mean, from a lore perspective, it's definitely cool to get more locations, but I think from a gameplay, getting a new map when we're already really happy with the maps is just kind of, whereas a new game mode, oh, that's the spark, that's the stuff right there. Oh, tickle my, I'm not going to finish that sentence. My name has been Rage. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your map ideas and thoughts on all of this, and subscribe for more. Goodbye.